Reductio ad absurdum, that quintessential Latin phrase which means, as you know, reducing to the level of absurdity, and that was embodied in a remarkable photograph that emerged from the climate change conference in Paris, a photograph of 6 men, no women of course, 6 men standing shoulder to shoulder, waving at the crowd. At one end, the President of Indonesia, beside him the Prime Minister of Canada, then the President of the United States of America, then the President of France, then the Prime Minister of India, and right in the middle, Bill Gates. Bill Gates. Why? Well, because he's wealthy, because he's rich, because he's the 1%. That's what allows him to be part of these celestial hotshots who gather together for these conferences. The fact that Bill Gates was investing in oil companies for many years and his sudden convert to climate change, the fact that he runs global public health and there are questions being raised about his priorities, none of that matters. He's rich. He's the 1%. He's there with all of this assemblage of world leaders. And undoubtedly Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook fellow who just announced that he'd give $45 billion over his lifetime to charity, he'll be winging his way to Paris, presumably on a Virgin Airways jet with Richard Branson. Richard Branson, if he can tear himself away from water skiing with naked women on his back, will undoubtedly join with Mark Zuckerberg to take a picture with a number of these major leaders of the realm. It's disgusting. On the other hand, that's only one facet. There's something else about reductio ad absurdum that grinds my molecules. Well, a phrase is a phrase. The Treatment Action Campaign in South Africa is in grave financial difficulty, as I think people know. The Treatment Action Campaign is the preeminent organization which has been fighting HIV and AIDS in South Africa and effectively giving a lead to the entire continent, and in the process forcing the government to put millions of people into treatment. But governments are cutting back. And almost exactly a year ago today, the United Kingdom government cut its contribution to TAC by $600,000. And at the time they said, and I'm going to read it to you, TAC has done important advocacy work for people living with HIV, but the ending of UK support will not reduce South Africans' access to treatment. South Africa has made enormous economic progress over the past 2 decades, and our relationship has changed from one of aid to mutual cooperation and trade. What intellectual bafflegab that is. If it weren't for the Treatment Action Campaign, you wouldn't have 3 million people in treatment now. And the next 3 million people who require treatment won't get there without TAC. TAC does treatment, it does prevention, it does care, it does treatment literacy. It does all of the facets of community mobilization around maintaining people's lives in the face of the pandemic. And governments like the United Kingdom cut back. That's what you call the reductio ad absurdum of international aid. That was last week. I'm Stephen Lewis.